This is TWiT.
And then I'm curious, so obviously it's built on top of VS Code, and uses Git for the back end. But the code of the project, what programming language did you guys decide to go with?
Yeah, the programming language for basically all of Dendron is TypeScript, Node.js, TypeScript, and we manage it all using Lerna, which is used for monorepos and primary JavaScript applications. So everything is, JavaScript all the way down.
I'm curious about one last thing. Are there any sort of outlier interesting uses that you've discovered that were unexpected? People using it in ways that you didn't expect them to, and doing sort of new and different things that may actually broaden your feature set down the road?
Yeah, there were a lot. I started Dendron because I needed a way of managing different programming languages. Because if you use more than one dynamic language, like what is true, what is false, that is different in every language. So my primary use case was like tracking programming languages or tracking AWS services. But when Dendron was released, I think one of our first big use cases that people came up with were for world building and storytelling. And so we had a lot of D&D users who were using Dendron to plan games. And, having characters and places and locations, and they just had different hierarchies for different places and different scenes that they wanted to explore, which was really cool to see. The other one was, for example, the professional gamer that wanted to track Street Fighter characters. That's something that, was so far removed from things I was thinking about, but it was really cool to see that be a use case. And a lot of writers, just people who are working on books, working on stories, so they're using Dendron to track their world and the characters within it.
That's cool. Have any of their feature requests made it back in?
What do you mean by feature requests?
Feature requests, maybe for a use that you weren't expecting, just something. Has any of that, have any of those new and interesting uses come back into the software in any way, in any tangible way?
So I guess I wasn't sure if maybe I misunderstood your question. So those are use cases people are doing with Dendron today, but are you asking about what feature requests people would like to see extended in Dendron?
Well, yeah, I just wondered if a user were using it in a way that you didn't expect, perhaps they would come back with you saying, well, I've been using it to catalog my collection of teapots or something, and there's this one feature that I'd really like to see, and I wondered if that had happened yet, and you had benefited from those unexpected uses.
Hey Kevin, I use Dendron to manage my D&D characters. Can you add a dice roller, please?
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you.
Got it. Yeah, that has not happened in terms of D&D. Where I have had requests is actually a lot in the corporate space. Because people are using Dendron for work, because they can because a lot of companies have policies where you can't store sensitive information on a tool that syncs to the cloud. They're able to use Dendron because it's local to their work computer. So I've had requests, for example, can I take my notes and publish it into, for example, Azure Wiki, so that I can share it with the rest of my team? Or can I, can I publish Dendron privately from behind a firewall? And so those are, and in terms of features, that's where it's not that we added features, but we've added documentation on how to do that. Because since Dendron compiles into static assets, you can host it anywhere. But we have ended up writing additional guides of, hey, here's how you deploy Dendron. Behind an HTTP auth on your own server. And so a lot of, I think, these use cases has just resulted in additional documentation for those use cases.